Since I made the third video about my mental health, I've made another video which has attracted a lot more views than any that I've done before. An interesting experience, not altogether a pleasant experience, because, well, there's some weird people out there, and some of them have got a lot of hatred in them. Anyway, that's by the by. Back to where I was up to when I'd had my breakdown, and then my first hospital admission in '97. I can't remember too much of '97 to '99. My confidence was really low. If I didn't have a wife and a family, I could have just become, I don't know, an alcoholic, and I'd given up on life to a great extent. I went out to work, but I just, as I said, just did voluntary work. Couldn't really think of anything that I could do. I can't remember what my mood was like, as whether I was depressed, high, or somewhere in between. What I do know was I was having delusional thoughts, thinking that there were signs there, cars from particular places, and all sorts of strange things. And I kept a record of them on my diary on the computer, and that became significant later on. I started doing a lot of exercise, and I got some sense of achievement from that. And then in '99 I thought, well, let's try to get back into paid work, and I did a part-time job, and it should have been very easy, but I got myself all worked up about it, and I had another manic episode in 1999. That was very strange. Went back into the same hospital as before, but because I was high as opposed to depressed, it was a very different experience, and I really enjoyed the activities that went on. I think in terms of improving my mental health, the important thing that happened to me there was I decided to stop hating the 2 or 3 people in my previous employers who I blamed for what had happened to me, and I tried to stop hating them, because this hatred was just so self-destructive. It was doing me no good whatsoever. It meant I couldn't control my emotions. So for no better reason than that I wanted to have some sort of closure, I went into my room one night in the psychiatric unit, and when I came out, I could feel that the hatred I felt was rapidly diminishing, and it continued to diminish to the point whereby really now I would have no problem with meeting the people concerned. Not that that's ever likely to happen. The other important thing was that the diary I'd kept of my strange delusional thoughts, I showed that to a doctor, a senior house officer called Cherry Lewin, and she showed it to my psychiatrist, Dr. Jonathan Helliwell, and he saw that I was atypical bipolar disorder, in that my delusional and paranoid thoughts happened whether I was high, low, or in the middle. And because of that, he recommended that I have cognitive behavioural therapy, and I went on the waiting list for that. And fortunately I wasn't on the waiting list for very long. I can't remember how long, but it was, I don't know, perhaps 3 months maybe, which for Britain is pretty good. So between losing the hatred and getting cognitive therapy, that hospital visit was more productive than the first one, and I'll leave it there for now.